There are crimes that shock a city, and then there are crimes that change it. In Northern California, in the late 1960s, fear didn't arrive with sirens or explosions. It arrived quietly, in letters, in symbols, in taunts written by someone who wanted to be known, but never seen. He didn't just kill, he communicated. And more than 50 years later, despite thousands of leads, suspects, and theories, we still don't know who he was. This is the story of the Zodiac Killer. The late 1960s in Northern California were defined by contradiction. On the surface, this was the era of counterculture. Peace rallies, civil rights movements, music festivals, and social revolution. But beneath that optimism was deep unease. The Vietnam War dominated headlines. Trust in institutions was fracturing. Crime rates were rising, and law enforcement agencies, often underfunded and disconnected, were struggling to keep pace. The Bay Area, in particular, was expanding rapidly. New highways, new suburbs, new anonymity. It was into this landscape that the Zodiac Killer emerged. Not as a shadow hiding in the dark, but as a voice demanding attention. What we know about the Zodiac begins with confirmed attacks. Cases tied together by evidence, survivor testimony, and later the killer's own words. December 20th, 1968, Lake Herman Road. Two teenagers, David Faraday, aged 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, aged 16, were parked along a remote road near Vallejo. Shortly after 11 p.m., they were attacked. Both were killed. At first, police believed it was an isolated incident, a tragic but ordinary crime. They were wrong. July 4th, 1969, Blue Rock Springs Park. 7 months later, another couple, Darlene Ferrin, aged 22, and Michael Mageau, aged 19, were sitting in a parked car. A man approached and opened fire. Darlene Ferrin died. Michael Mageau survived. And for the first time, there was a living witness. Mageau described the attacker as a white male, stocky build, wearing glasses, details that would echo through the investigation for decades. Just weeks later, 3 Bay Area newspapers received letters. Each claimed responsibility. Each included cryptic symbols, and each demanded publication. The writer called himself the Zodiac. September 27, 1969, Lake Berryessa. In broad daylight, Brian Hartnell, aged 20, and Cecilia Shepard, aged 22, were attacked near the lake. The assailant wore a hooded costume marked with a crosshair symbol. Before leaving, he wrote on the victim's car door dates, locations, and his symbol, as if signing a ledger. Cecilia Shepard later died. Brian Hartnell survived. For investigators, the message was unmistakable. This was no longer about secrecy. This was about identity. October 11, 1969, San Francisco. Paul Stein, a 29-year-old taxi driver, was killed in the city's Presidio Heights neighborhood. Witnesses saw a man calmly walk away. Police nearly apprehended him, but a radio miscommunication sent officers searching for the wrong suspect. The Zodiac later mocked this error in a letter. He wanted them to know how close they came. The letters and ciphers, crime as performance. More than the attacks themselves, what defined the Zodiac Killer were his letters. Over time, he sent dozens to newspapers, police departments, and journalists. They included threats, taunts, claims of additional victims, and ciphers, complex codes meant to be solved publicly. One cipher, cracked by a schoolteacher and his wife, revealed chilling but vague statements, not confessions, but ideology. The Zodiac didn't just want fear, he wanted control. By feeding the media clues, deadlines, and threats, he turned newspapers into unwilling accomplices. Every published letter extended his presence, every headline amplified his power. Psychologically, this was domination through attention, a criminal using communication as a weapon. The investigation, too many lines, too little time. The investigation into the Zodiac was massive and fractured. Multiple jurisdictions were involved: Vallejo, Napa County, San Francisco. There was no central database, no DNA profiling, no digital records. Evidence was handwritten. Tips arrived by mail or phone. Sketches were subjective. Police faced conflicting witness descriptions, thousands of false confessions, hoax letters, and immense public pressure. At times, agencies failed to share information efficiently. At others, promising leads simply vanished into paperwork. Despite exhaustive efforts, the case grew colder with every year. Primary suspects, questions without answers. Over the decades, several suspects have emerged. Arthur Lee Allen, the most infamous. Circumstantial evidence linked him to locations and interests related to the case. But handwriting, fingerprints, and later DNA evidence failed to confirm him conclusively. Numerous men have been named, some with compelling overlaps, others fueled by coincidence or speculation. No suspect has ever met the legal threshold required for prosecution, and importantly, law enforcement has never officially closed the case. The Zodiac evaded capture due to a convergence of factors: limited forensic technology, fragmented law enforcement, media amplification, and a suspect who controlled distance and timing. Unlike many serial offenders, the Zodiac left little physical evidence and may have stopped voluntarily, or changed, or died unknown. The truth is, we don't know. The Zodiac killer permanently altered American true crime. He influenced how media handles anonymous threats, how police approach multi-jurisdictional cases, and how the public understands the psychology of notoriety-driven violence. Books, films, and documentaries followed. But the real legacy isn't entertainment. It's a question: how many crimes remain unsolved not because of lack of effort, but because the system wasn't yet built to catch them? The Zodiac killer never faced trial, never gave a final confession, never revealed his identity. What remains are victims, families who never received answers, and a mystery that resists closure. Perhaps the most unsettling truth is this: the Zodiac wanted to be remembered, but history remembers something else more clearly. The lives interrupted, the fear endured, and the questions that refuse to fade. Some stories don't end, they linger. If this story kept you watching until the end, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more real stories that will leave you questioning everything.